Hello. Want to make a video on jealousy and jealousy meditation. Doing these videos are helping me and hopefully helping some other people as well. Jealousy, and I can only speak for myself. I just can imagine that this does resonate with a lot of other women and maybe with some men too. Men have their own jealousy problems that just have a different structure. It's just a different shape and color, but it is jealousy nevertheless. So maybe they can relate to this somewhat, but this is particularly now a woman issue now that I'm talking about. Jealousy of other women, and the reason why, and this entire thing, the way that is constructed by the ego, by childhood, the emotional pain, and what we all have in common, and this is a fact, this is a real hard fact, what we all have in common around the whole globe is we have not, all of us that are suffering with emotional problems, what we all have in common, okay, is that our parents, mother, father, or whoever, or foster parents, whoever, or grandmother, or grandfather, or nanny, whoever had us in their custody, whoever was the one feeding us, taking care of us, having us around, let's put it that way. Some people weren't even well fed. Some people were even neglected, physically neglected. Animals and children happens all the time. But what we all have in common is we did not receive the love and attention that we were supposed to receive by our mothers, and whoever was, representative as the mother, not necessarily the biological mother, or whoever was there supposed to be giving this to us. If it's a foster mother or whoever, says, hey, yeah, I will take care of the child, then really take care of that child. If you make that decision, you bring an animal, dog, rabbit, child, any being into your life, you make a humongous commitment there, okay? And if you are breaching this commitment, you are creating a lifetime of excruciating pain and suffering. And that's why I say, to everyone, think about this really, really carefully before you bring a living being, living sentient being into your life. You have to really think this through. Backwards, forward, sideways, upside down, turn it inside out, look at it from every angle possible. What is going to happen? What are the possible consequences? Am I fit to do it? Am I fit to give my baby that what he needs? Or foster a baby, animal or human? Am I fit for this? Okay. I asked myself that question when I was 19 and when I was preggo, because we were reckless. Okay. I asked myself that, and my answer was clear. I am so totally not fit for this psychologically. I had so many horrible things going on in my brain. It was a clear thing for me. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm putting another Nicola into the world, and she's gonna suffer just like I suffer, and she's gonna suffer for 100 years, just I'm gonna be suffering for 100 years. Do I want to do this? Do I want to duplicate myself? I mean, the possibilities are there that it's gonna be someone like me, someone very sensitive. My mother thought it was gonna be someone like her, someone who is very capable of keeping everything under complete lock, like locking up a locker, and being and using denial techniques and all of this. She thought there was someone like this, and easygoing, very well adapted, and so on. Never screams, never has a temper tantrum. Well, that is the outcome then, when we don't think this through, when we make false assumptions, we're going to end up with a child either very different from ourselves, because you mate with someone who's different to you, you likely get a child that's very different. So I'm kind of like in between my parents, but more leaning towards my dad's side of the family. I got a lot from my grandfather, which is absolutely horrible, from my father's father. I also got a lot from my grandmother, from my father's mother, who was an amazing person, a poet. So, and I got a lot from my father artistically. So my father is an architect and artist, very artistic. So I got that all going, and it is very good. But I am hypersensitive. I'm a hypersensitive brain. Okay? And my mother knows how to lock all of this up, and the result is that she's not very sensitive to others or herself, or kind of crude in her way of dealing with other people. And she thought, her child was going to be just like this, nice and crude and in denial, and knows how to just tuck everything away and just never cry, never worry about anything. It's just all whatever. It doesn't matter. So no, very different outcome, and that would happen to anyone. And I didn't want to create my mother again either. I didn't want to create my grandfather, for sure, and I definitely didn't want to create another one of myself, that is similar to that in some way. So that would be absolutely tormenting, that idea that I could cause another existence to suffer and to live. It's better to stay in the non-physical, right? That's my view on it. So in that sense, I have been antinatalist before I ever heard that terminology. I have been very clear about this. So back then I was still for breeding dogs. So today I see that differently. You live your life and you see the suffering going on. You start putting A and B together, and you come to the conclusion, to the philosophical conclusion, if you very, very much care, like I do, that existence is cruel. It's just cruel to exist. All kinds of cruel things, illnesses, the suffering. That suffering that we just go through when we have a real bad flu, for example. The suffering, the fear of choking to death. I've been there many times. I had a flu in this house here that was so bad that for 3 nights I had to sit in my office chair. Just sit with a straight spinal cord in my office chair. I couldn't really sleep because I couldn't breathe. And I did not run to the emergency room. What can they do? They can't do anything. Maybe they'll do something horrific and open up my throat or something. Oh, no, thank you. I'd rather pass away and choke. to death, from not being able to breathe, than have someone cut me open or something, or some other terrible thing. Yeah. And flu vaccines, you know, that's that we all know that they are completely poisonous. They're full of poisons and heavy metals that are extremely hazardous for the body. So life is suffering, and that's why we should take these existences home that are already here and that are waiting in massive amounts around the globe in shelters, waiting. If you go into a shelter, you see 50 dogs in cages looking at you with that look like, please, I'm begging you from the bottom of my heart, take me home. Take me home. And then people breed dogs. They breed more dogs when there are all these dogs in shelters, in the cages, that are in desperate need to go to a loving foster parent or forever home. So we gotta take these things into consideration. And then all these people, what they're doing with fertility drugs to create another living being, even if their bodies are sick and poisoned, their livers are clogged up and all of this, the bowels don't move, energetic blockages, and they are going to the doctor or getting fertility treatment. So then they end up having 10 babies, and the insanity of this. Oh, it's just, it's just brutal. It's brutal beyond imagination. So that's real cruel. Only a stagnator soul does something like this. If your body is poisoned and sick and doesn't want to conceive, then leave it alone. Get healthy, read the book by Dr. Richard Schulze and heal yourself and stop listening to the pharmaceutical mafia. So all of these things, all of this is going through my mind at the same time. I don't even know what, it's like every thought wants to get through the door at the same time. So all these thoughts get bunched up, and one thought steps on another and tramples on another. So consider what life is, existence is. Think about it. Don't go by the religion perspective. The religion perspective comes from the corporate agenda. The corporate agenda wants people to procreate, so they have more customers. So they will shove religion into your face wherever you go. In schools, breach the separation of church and state wherever they can. Even change the constitutional rights that we have. The Jefferson amendments and all of this is they're all trying to manipulate away as much as they can. Bush and Cheney did very much damage, and Barack Obama and people in the Senate did more damage to it. So it's a horror. And I know that Donald Trump knows about it, and he has also talked about this. Donald Trump was very concerned about this, all of this. He was very concerned and very critical of the Bush-Cheney administration and also of the Obama administration. But people don't want to look at it because it's politically incorrect to question someone who they think needs to be put in some kind of immunity from the law and from criticism. No one is immune from making mistakes. No one is immune from real criticism. no one should be immune from it. If you immunize someone, you censor people from criticizing other people. That cannot happen, because if you do this, then we're going to end up with a real horrible dictatorship. And it's already, the wave of Islam is coming up. I see it at the horizon. It is coming up, a tsunami wave of Islam. You want that to happen? You want that to wash over your brain and house? I don't think so. And again, I am not a right-winger at all. I'm not a left-winger either. I don't take sides with these petty, scholly things that are out there. These ridiculous, neurotic, self-image driven political agendas. I am free from this. I'm so glad. And I recommend to other people to free themselves as well. Making these videos are helping me. I hope it's helping other people. Jealousy is a humongous mental illness, and almost, I would say, this is what I hypothesize. Every single person who's struggling with mental illness issue, which is emotional pain that takes a side twist because it's not allowed to move forward. That's what mental illness is. It's basically the brain shooting out the pain in the most inappropriate situations. That's what mental illness is. Because it's being obstructed, it's being oppressed. It can't come out the front door because it's being shut down by society. That's why it is so important to straighten your spinal cord and let it come through the front door out. That's where it wants to go. It wants to come through your brain out and to the top, okay? To the front, to the top, to the sun, to up, to the sky, through the body, not sideways, not into a tumor, not into a liver congestion, not into an energetic bundle or congestion, but it wants to be freed, and it wants to flow, and wants to flow out. And I allow myself that luxury, and it's a wonderful thing, and I am deeply, deeply, infinitely grateful to Dr. Arthur Janov for showing us this truth. And Jiddu Krishnamurti, of course, whose message is the same, just in a different way of expression, just in different words, just with different examples. It's the same message. It wants to flow straight through and out. That's what life really should be. It should be an energetic, constant flow, free-flowing, no censorship inside of yourself or in society. Very, very important. And I hypothesize that everyone with mental illness has a jealousy problem, because jealousy, and Jiddu was also talking about this. Some people think they don't have jealousy, Those are, be careful, those are the ones with the worst jealousy there is. Like my mother, for example, I don't have jealousy. That's always you guys neurotic. I'm so normal. I don't have jealousy. I just say to myself, the others are always better. It's okay. It's all good. No, 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 no. That's very, very, very neurotic too. That's a form of denial. That's also self-hate, and in a very locked up way and a very neurotic way. So no, the first step is to come out of the closet with the jealousy and say to yourself, ooh, I'm going to straighten my spinal cord. I'm going to sit straight. Yeah, maybe I put my hand on my chest to give myself comfort. And Dr. Kristen Neff, the wife of Rupert Isaacson, who made the film The Horse Boy, she's become a psychologist. She's also Buddhist, an amazing woman. And when her son was struggling with autism and it was very difficult for her, she said she gave herself comfort. Sometimes in airplanes even, she would just not know anymore what to do. He would have these autistic temper tantrums, and that was his only way of dealing with his stress. And people were getting upset in the airplane, and she was being blamed, and all this the worries, trying to control the situation. Then she would just, she said she would just go, instead of going into denial and running away from it or resorting to spanking or violence or lashing out to anyone. So she went inward, and I can't do it right now because I'm holding the camera with one hand. You cross your hands. You put one hand there and the other hand above the other so that the wrists are crossing each other over your chest or solar plexus. And you breathe, and you have the hands like this in comfort to yourself. And you say to yourself, it's okay. You are struggling, you're suffering right now, and it's okay. I give you comfort. That's the infinite speaking through your hands, giving you comfort. You give yourself comfort. We are all part of the infinite, but we have to be careful not to make the mistake of saying God is in me. This is, then people become complacent. So it doesn't work that way. Becomes another idea. But yes, everything is the infinite cosmos in every single point of the coordinate system, of the infinite coordinate system. But some people are not tapped in, they're not tuned in to the vibration of it because of ego, because of blocking their energetic flow. And then all these horrible things come up, the negative thoughts and the negative self-images, the self-image making in order to protect themselves from pain and so on. Not seeing the other living being suffering and in need of something. All of this happening, because of suppressing emotional pain. So then they're not tuned into it, but it's there always, in us and around us, everywhere. It is there. We just need to tune into the radio frequency of the infinite cosmos. That's basically what it is. Esther Hicks talks about this as well. Very important, but gets misunderstood. But we need to really see this in the right context. That's the key here. That's really the key. Not see it in the context of, oh, no, I can exploit anyone. It doesn't matter anywhere. Or no, she's just working for the corporations. No, she is not. No, she's channeling. And people will interpret it to their benefit or to their image or to their projection onto the world and so on. So the message is really tune yourself into the infinite cosmos. That's what Esther Hicks calls the vortex. So, and they all talk about it. Thich Nhat Hanh, Adyashanti, Eckhart Tolle, Jiddu Krishnamurti, all of them talk about this. To not run away, to stay with this, with that what is, and really look at it and really face it. I'm jealous. There are women I'm jealous of. It sounds embarrassing, but hey, Almost everyone has it. I would say everyone has. Everyone that struggles with mental illness, or with everyone that struggles with a physical illness has it. So that's another form of mental illness. Physical illness is when there's an energy blockage in the body. Okay, that's all it is. It's not something that suddenly comes out of the blue, or out of nothing, or out of from someone else. No, no. It has to do with an energy blockage inside the person. And the energy blockage is, and that's usually people like my mother, they tend to be going in the physical illness direction because they're very good at denial. So they'll kid themselves into a self-made storyline, and they can patch things up with this artificial band-aid. Or they go into self-hate, and many people have many of these components at the same time. Or they go into mental illness, OCD is what I have, trying to somehow keep control over these forceful thoughts, the fear thoughts, the panic, the nightmares. I have horrible nightmares at night. Absolutely atrocious. It's absolutely horrendous. I dream a lot that I become a ghost, float to the ceiling. It's very, very frightening. It's a very frightening nightmare. I don't know why it is so frightening to me. For me to become a ghost and scare people from the ceiling and all of this. It makes no sense. I, have to laugh about it when I'm awake. But when I dream this is not fun, I tell you. This is very awful. And that's why I know this is all pent-up energy. This is a volcano, oh gosh, of hatred, anger, despair. Anger is despair. It's just despair that's underneath. And then we always try to find some kind of scapegoat. We try to find someone to blame it on. But they're all victims. My mother, everyone that has dealt with me wrong as a child, didn't give me love or what we needed. They're all victims themselves. They're all victims of the cycle of samsara, the cycle of pain, the cycle of neurosis in society. It's been done to her, to the grandparents, great-grandparents, and so on. It seems like a never-ending cycle, but that's why it's time right now to dissolve this cycle of samsara. Do it now. Stop this now. This continuation. We stop the continuation of self-censorship, of blocking your energetic flow. That has to be undone. That has to be dissolved so that we can consciously sit down in a meditation, straighten our spinal cords, breathe. Make sure the neck is straight too, not hunched over. I tell myself this at the same time because we fall into it again. We fall always. I notice I fall into it. We feel victimized, then body kind of collapses almost. So we have to. I'm making a video right now. That's okay. Now go ahead. I'm not filming you. So it's hard to make videos. So anyway, sit straight, make sure you lean the head back and the forehead slightly down, so that the spinal cord in the neck does not get bent in like this, but rather bent out like in a convex rather than the concave posture. Convex, like bowed this way. I don't know if this is showing. So you can touch this part here and feel if it is stretching out. You will know it. You will know how it feels in your neck. Okay. Make sure you breathe. And just sit like this. You don't even have to do anything. You don't have to talk. You can talk, but you don't have to talk. Just experience how this feels when the energy no longer is obstructed. How does it feel? It's amazing the kind of things that come out of this. It is miraculous what can come out of this. Happened in primotherapy, in history. It happened in my own life. I've seen it. I've seen amazing things. Tony Robbins. You know, some people think that Tony Robbins is like the opposite of primotherapy. You know, there's no opposites like this. No. He comes from a different vantage point to the situation. He uses a lot of cognitive. Cognition's very important. You know, the whole thing is a conscious becoming. You become conscious. It's a cognitive process. You do cognitive exercises to see what happens energetically, emotionally. You know, so. Tony Robbins, not the opposite of primotherapy. It's a supplementation. It is a helping hand. That's what it really is. And a fantastic guy. Fantastic books. I don't understand why people are in such resistance, you know. I guess that's the ego again, that's in resistance, says, oh, ha, and then they don't have to, because if they can dismiss it, and then they can say to themselves, I don't need to do this. Yes, but those are the people who need to do it the most. That's always the thing, you know. The people who want to debunk something, they need that the most. That's the ego that really fights it, that doesn't want anything to do with it, with the truth of all of this, you know, with these exercises that seem ridiculous, you know. But that's the ego that says that. The ego says, oh, it's ridiculous, I don't need to do it now. No, it's not ridiculous, not at all. I talked about this before. There was this lady, she was abused as a child, and on stage at Tony Robbins' show, she did this exercise in her head and said, I am valuable, I am precious, I am a precious, instead of lashing out. To say this, a lot of us have self-hatred. To say, I am precious, is such a humongous step for almost everyone in the world. To say, I am my mother, for her to say, I am precious. When I said, Mommy, you look like Alexandra, the singer from the 60s. She said, no. Yes, she did, 100%. And she doesn't see herself like this. She sees herself through ugly goggles or something. I don't know. This is very sad. And she traded this insecurity over to me, of course. You know, it started in the womb already. It's an energetic thing. My goodness, when you are not ready, you cannot be putting a child, you cannot be pregnant and carrying out a child. When you have energetic blockages in your bodies, you can't do this. What are you doing to that child? Child is already born mentally ill when you do this, has to struggle through all of this. What I have suffered from, I know that most people would not be alive anymore. Most people would have ended their lives. Most people would have ended up on drugs. or some other horrible things. And I know people that were just like me. And we were somewhere in our 20s, and I saw this one woman, this Pina, and I saw that she was exactly like me. But she couldn't handle the situation. She didn't bring that knowledge into that lifetime that of hers that I brought with me. I had a couple of more lifetimes in my past. A good girl though, light worker soul, but did not have that much inner knowledge of it. That there's an inner voice, that comes from the past lifetimes that says, hey, you've been through this before and you know how to do it. So when they don't have that experience, they don't know. They don't have the instinct that goes out grabbing the right things to help themselves. So she fell, and she fell into heroin. And it wasn't long after that, like a year or two after that, that she was found dead from overdosing on heroin. And I knew exactly why, For me, this was very clear. She didn't have any boundaries at all. She didn't know how to say no to someone, She didn't know how to stack up her boundaries and be firm. She was completely like a complete spineless, like an amorphous, energetic being that was just full of pain. And anyone could step on her and she would not know how to defend herself or how to set any boundaries or how to say anything. She'd just give everyone whatever they wanted. So there's no way a body can handle this. The body cannot tolerate this. And the brain can't. There's no way. We have to set boundaries. But I know, I saw the resemblance between her and me. For the most part, I had the same thing. There was just this Medusa inside of me that was also coming from other lifetimes, and that there was an energetic power inside of me, the Medusa, the anger, not just the anger, but there's an enormous monster in there, that suddenly sees that and says, what the heck are you doing to yourself? Don't do that. So I had that voice. She didn't. So I would get mad sometimes in inappropriate situations because I felt stepped on. But that was still better than taking the heroin, So there's a scale, Esther Hicks says, a very important scale that people should look at. I think it's 22 steps. The very rock bottom is complete helplessness and unempowerment. That's the absolute bottom. Okay, one step above that is anger. It feels better and is better for you than total unempowerment. But anger is yet another thing. It's just another unempowering thing, basically. It's not an empowered state. It just feels, or is a little bit better than being in total despair, like people who end up on drugs. So me having anger was my lifesaver. But I know it wasn't gonna be the end point, okay? So I can't be staying in that anger. That's not gonna work. No way. So there's many steps above the anger, many, many, many more steps until we reach the highest level, which is total empowerment and joy and feeling good about oneself and others and being good to others. And in that state, there is no way anyone would ever bully someone else. When you're totally empowered, you don't bully anyone. Bullying someone else comes out of total unempowerment. It's an egoic defense mechanism to kid yourself into thinking that if you do it to someone else, it's not being done to you, or that you somehow feel like this is making you feel strong. But it's an illusion. And it makes things worse. It creates a samsara, a negative cycle. So we want to dissolve that. It's very important. I'm not going to move forward by staying stuck in the jealousy or in some kind of self-fabricated storylines about myself, projections, or anger against anyone, or anger against those that make me feel jealous. They are totally innocent. They have nothing to do with this. That is happening inside of myself. So I have to go within myself. I have to take that journey. I don't know why my eye looks like it has a tear in it, but I don't have a tear in it. I think it's a reflection from this lamp that creates that. So maybe it's better now. So okay, it's kind of dark, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, you sit straight. You make sure that the neck spines, the neck discs are also pulled apart. Okay, bulge that out and breathe and just feel how it feels when that energy flows all the way through. And then I say, I can only talk about myself right now. I don't know you or your problems, but maybe you can relate or not, or maybe share something about yourself under the video would be great. Or make me a video, that would be the best. Make me a video and talk about your stuff. Don't be afraid of the haters. How are we going to move forward if we don't talk about this? If we sit like a pressure cooker on our stuff and pretend everything is okay, then we're not helping anyone. We're just intimidating other people who are feeling terrible too, and they think you are just totally on top of the world, and they feel intimidated, and everyone feels intimidated, and no one wants to talk about it because everyone thinks the other one is on top of the world. But it's not the case. That is not the case. The only two people that I know of that are on top of the world are Bindi and Robert Irwin, the children of the crocodile. What's his name? Steve Irwin. Okay, so those are on top of the world. They don't have mental illness. So, but those are the only ones I can think of right now who don't need to do this meditation practice. Okay, they are already in the total energetic flow. Whatever they're doing, they're working through life in this meditation of flow. They don't need to deliberately put themselves into this and straighten this and breathe. They're already doing it because they are not obstructed. This is not a judgment on anything or anyone. This is just an observation. Okay, we suffer, and I feel for you 100% because I'm going through it, and my story will, and your story will help someone else. It's guaranteed. And that's the only way we can move forward. You know, you have friends, you have real friends. You have a real friend in me. I will never, ever look down on anyone. I love you. I really do. As a friend, as a bear mother, I'm here for all living beings. I know the ordeal in humans. I know what it's like. I've been through it so many times, and I'm still doing this practice. This is never going to, I'm never, probably, maybe never gonna be on top of the world. Maybe in 100 lifetimes, or thousands, or 1,000,000, I don't know. Right now, I'm an indigo. I have enough knowledge that I brought with me to see what's going on. And that the Medusa that says, stop doing this, stop acting out, or stop this blocking yourself, blocking your energetic flow. You have to open that up. You have to let it flow. If it's a scream into the pillow, then that's a scream. If it's painting something, then it's painting something. But it has to be done in a non-violent way. It has to be done with ahimsa, means non-violence, means peacefulness to yourself and other living beings. You scream into the pillow, that's safe. You close the door so they don't hear. Okay, you paint something. You paint it out. That's all peaceful means. Okay, and the peaceful means, that is the path within. Okay, if we act it out on other people, if we act something violent verbally or physically out on other people, we continue the cycle of suffering in the world. We add to it. That's what we don't want to do anymore. Okay, this is time now. This is right now. This is the future right now. Okay, this is the moment where this chain has to be dissolved. The chain of suffering has to be dissolved. And we can do it. We do it together. I am here for you. I'm going through it myself. We can go through it together. Okay? And we can dissolve the chain of suffering in the world. People acting out on others, causing more pain, causing them to suffer, causing them to bite or to become violent, whether it's an animal or human. And being in despair and all of this. Let's dissolve it now. It starts with us. It starts with every single person, with every single one, with bullies too. If you are a bully, stop it right now. Stop this cycle. Stop this contributing to the negative cycle right now. Don't give in to it anymore. Don't bully and see what happens. That's what Jiddu said. Don't run away from it. See what happens. If you go into the meditation, you're not running away from it anymore. Then you allow the energetic flow to go through you. Okay? And it feels amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's a completely new thing. It's revolutionary in my own life as well. It's revolutionary. You know what my feeling was always? I felt puny. I talked about this before. I had this diva girlfriend. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Looked like Grace Jones. I don't know if you know who Grace Jones is. So, black singer from the 80s. So, tall and huge behind, and all the German men were after her, and beautiful, beautiful queen face and body. And I was much shorter than her, and German, was a German butt, and boring, no one paid any attention to me. It was the diva, it was her, it was always her night, every night was her night. And all the men were on their knees to be going out with her, going home with her. And the way that felt, it's not just this, it just ties into my entire life. I had other girlfriends who I was jealous of, but she was really, that was the epitome for me of jealousy. It was this, I felt so meek and puny next to her. I felt like, it's very painful also for me to talk about this, but it's important that we talk about it. It's very important to talk about it. Very important. And it's important to love ourselves the way we are. Just the way we are, with all the fat and in the wrong places. And love, love handles. I gotta pet them. poor love handles in the wrong place. It doesn't happen to be at the behind place, where it's supposed to be. The nice round basketballs are missing. Instead they are somewhere else. Like this guy said, he has all his boobs in the wrong places. So, and it just gets worse when we get older, those boobs in the wrong places, they all grow in the wrong places. And the spare tires and all of this. And the divers, they are lucky that it grows where it's supposed to be. Yeah. So, but anyway, this is what it is. Okay. Maybe I will be a black woman or a mulatto in one of my future lives. Would be nice. I would like to experience that, how that feels, But right now, I am what I am. And I'm not going to pretend to be something else. I'm not going to pluck my eyebrows out. I'm not going to put Botox in my butt or a basketball, half a basketball or something. I'm not going to do these things. I'm not going to alter myself. That'll be a total rape of my own body and everything. No. Even if we are jealous of the other, we have to love the way we are. We have to love ourselves. I love, these cells, poor, you sweet thing, you know. They just mean well, they want to love, they want to be loved. All of these cells, the whatever, jitter and, I don't know, bags and wrinkles and whatever, pimples, all of this tissue that wants to be loved. Dentist that's damaged, a nerve in here, and that caused a bit of my skin to look like it. It caused it to be without form. And I see that in photos and in the videos. It doesn't feel good, but there's nothing I can do about it. I didn't sue the guy, and maybe I could have. It's a lot of trouble, but I don't know whether they did it recklessly or deliberately or whatever the problem was. They were preaching Jesus to me, and it was a real bad experience. But all of this is, this is part of my school. It's all part of it, part of this. It is what it is. It is this. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, however you're looking, whatever your problems are, it is what it is. It is right now. This is what's happening. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to create a storyline that tells a different story. Some people, they kid themselves into thinking, oh, I had a good childhood. That feels better. Let's leave it like this. No, that's lying. That doesn't make the world a better place. Most of us did not have a good childhood. By denying, we're not going to make the future childhoods better. We have to look at the problems. That's what Elon Musk always says. He has to look at the problems to improve it. To know, you have to first of all know what's going on, what people are doing wrong, so we can fix this and do it better. So, and the main thing to fix this and do it better, it starts with every single person by getting into the meditation, by sitting down on a chair and straightening the spinal cord and straightening the neck and breathing and allowing that what is. It is happening. I am jealous. I go through these phases. I go through these emotions. I feel puny. I feel meek. Also unimportant, of course. That's not such a biggie for me. It's a biggie for a lot of people, I see, particularly for important people. So for them, it being important it becomes the storyline and becomes the self-image. And then when something happens that interrupts that, they completely lose it. And so, but it's right now, our chance, it's your chance right now. If YouTube took your monetization away, it's right now. There are many other people that are experiencing the same thing. Okay, you look at it as a wave or a wind. Okay, maybe it's people's neurosis, it's greed. But if you focus on the other, you're creating a scapegoat and you are escaping from that what we're supposed to do right now, which means going into yourself and doing this very meditation. If you blame it on someone else, if you sue someone or hit someone or shoot someone or yell at someone or whatever, let it out or blame it, just blame it, finger pointing, all this accusation, always accusing, blaming, shaming, bullying, all of this, that is all running away from this activity right now, this activity of total introspection and Tony Robbins talked about it too. He says, what can I do? What could I have done better? Not blame it on other people. That doesn't bring you forward at all. What could I have done better in that situation? I could have been nicer to that person. How would that have felt if I had been nicer? Or if I had, in my case, I was always crying. With my black girlfriend, I was always crying. Sometimes she would cry with me. I was crying and crying. Oh, I'm so jealous of you. And oh, I feel so puny. And she would cry with me, wouldn't say anything. So she never said, but you're pretty too, or anything. Never said that. But, that's her story, that's her problem, that's her issue, that's, her complex of suffering. We all do, We all have issues. We all have pain from the past. None of us, almost none of us, had the mother that we needed. Okay. So yeah, all I could do is just cry and cry and cry and cry and cry and cry and cry. I feel like death, and my mother thought I was gonna die or something. And then an hour later, I felt better, and I was talking to my black girlfriend on the phone, and we were laughing again. So it was going in these cycles. At some point, I had to say, look, I suffer too much with you in the friendship with you. There were other issues with her also, not just this. Okay. She was pretty messed up. So, and she was kind of cruel sometimes to me. And that was her story and her problems. Okay. I'm not going to be blaming her for it. Okay. Just look at it for what it is. Okay. But that was not the issue with me, with my mental illness. My mental illness was plain and simply this thing that was going on inside of me, and that was my jealousy. And I'm not blaming her for it. Okay? I'm not blaming her mental illness problems and her stuff. I am not blaming anything, not blaming myself either. It is just what it is. Okay? It's jealousy, and I can allow myself to feel it. Okay? Without distorting it, without running away from it. If we run away from it, we have bypassed that school, that task. We have bypassed the meditation. So let's use it, as my therapist Esther Odermatt always said, you have something to work with. If something hurts, you got something to work with in primal therapy. That's a chance. It's a present. Buddhists also talk about it. They say our best teachers are the most painful situations, the most painful people, the most painful encounters. That's a present for us to use, so we can really take that journey within ourselves and allow it, and say, yes, I am jealous. Yes, that's how it is. Okay. And just allow it and sit with it and see what happens. And don't expect anything to happen, then you have already run off into an idea. Okay? We have to be very careful here. The ego is very quick in maneuvering itself out of the situation. Really sit with it and see what happens. And if you don't run away, if you breeze through this and you let the energy flow through your whole body, then something completely new happens that has never happened before. Something revolutionary happens inside of yourself. And it would be revolutionary for the whole world if every single person did this meditation. Okay? So, you guys take care.